One brothers, on to week 3 of chapel lessons, and this week we've got a really interesting passage out of Luke that Jesus teaches, Luke 16. And let me just get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and read the passage for you and then give you a few thoughts. Jesus told his disciples, there was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him and asked him, "What is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer." The manager said to himself, "What shall I do now? My master is taking away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do, so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me in their houses." So he called in each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" 900 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 450. Then he asked the second, "How much do you owe?" 1,000 bushels of wheat. And he told him, "Take your bill and make it 800. The master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it's gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much." Here's our question for the week. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will entrust the true riches? If you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. The Pharisees who loved money heard all this and were sneering at him. And he said to them, "You are the ones who justify yourselves in the eyes of others, but God knows your hearts. What people value highly is detestable in God's sight." This is in Luke chapter 16, verses 1 through 15. And guys, life is about stewardship. We are not the owners of anything that we have. We are merely a steward. And a steward is a manager of another's possessions. You see, in Psalm chapter 24, verse 1, it says this. It says, "The earth is the Lord's and all it contains, the world and everything, and the world and those who dwell in it." Okay, so the earth is the Lord's, everything in it. So that means that he is the possessor, he is the owner, and we are merely just the managers. We are the stewards of it. Okay, and so that includes anything in our lives from a Christ-centered perspective. And so it's not just about, some people say, well, I give to the church and so the rest is mine. That's not the way that the scriptures look at it. Everything I'm a steward of. And so that includes my family. I'm to be a steward over my family. God owns my kids and my wife. He owns me. That means I'm a steward over my career. I'm to watch over it. I'm to take very good care of it. I'm to take very good care of my family. I'm to love my wife as Christ loved the church, a great calling there. I'm to love my kids. I'm not to cause them to be dishonest or to want to run away from me. In my career, I do everything, you guys do everything you can to be the best that you can be on the field. But it also means my time. My time is not my own. My time is the Lord's. And so how I use my time matters. Any possessions that I own, cars, homes, whatever. So many times we've been blessed to be able to open our home up to missionaries. A lot of times we have a key outside, and we have one missionary friend that's come by several times and we haven't been home, but he knows where our key is. And so he has full use of the house if he needs it. And so It also means any gifts and abilities that God's given us. He's given, the Holy Spirit, once we come to know Christ, has given us gifts and abilities that we're to use for the kingdom. And really cool is that the gospel is, we are stewards over the gospel. God's plan, which I wouldn't have thought of it, was to use you and I to be able to proclaim Christ to other people. And so I need to be intentional. I need to be purposeful as his steward of that. And so Jesus has given us this opportunity to be his stewards over the things that he's entrusted into our care. And so what do we learn from that? From this passage, this rich guy was shrewd. Jesus did not honor him for his dishonesty and for being a poor steward, but he made the most of an opportunity. And that's what he challenges us to do, to make the most of the opportunities that he presents to us. That we are to look at everything as his. And so we give him the honor in it. So one of the things at the end of the passage said, you cannot serve both God and money. And so if God is our ruler, if he is our master, then we will utilize all the things that he's given us as a good steward to serve other people. But if money becomes our God, it is a ruthless master, and it will not treat us well. And I think of these verses in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. And this is Paul speaking to the Corinthians. He said, "Let a man regard us in this manner, as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required of a steward that he be found trustworthy." And so that's my heart for you guys, that you would realize today that you are just a steward of all that God has placed in your possession, and that you would utilize whatever he's given to you well for his glory. Blessings, and look forward to seeing you this next week.